Okay, hi everybody. So I'm going to go through the section C over here. So for the Sec 1 E-Year Paper 2018, the Chem section only. So let's look at the first question. The diagram shows a confined area, okay, with shelves filled with glassware. So students are find out what will happen if bulls were let to roam freely. So you let the bull go in. So the list below shows the action which the student will perform. So each of these, there's 1 action, 2 action, 3 action, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in total, there are 7 actions that the students will perform. Take note, this is not in sequence. Okay? So in part A, it says, arrange the action according to the sequence of scientific method, which should be performed by the student. So the question is, what is the scientific method? So if you know it, you will form step 1 to step 7 quite easily. So the first part is actually to make an observation. Make an observation. The second step is actually to form a hypothesis. Okay, form a hypothesis. Okay, after you have formed the hypothesis, the next step is really to perform the experiment. The fourth step, after you perform the experiment, is to analyze the data. The fifth step is to report your finding. So generally, it's like conclusion. And then F is to invite others. So you share your results, invite others to try it out. Okay. Now, so based on all that, if you look at it here, conclusion, most probably this is the report. Okay, under report is actually E, report your findings. So this is under E. Will bulls break all the glassware in a confined area? So most probably when the student asks a question, this will be in terms of making an observation. So making an observation in a sense actually accompanies with a question. So this will be part A. Okay, so student asks, will bull breaks all the glassware in a confined area? That's actually the start. So making observation and asking question. So this A, this is right here, report is E. Report is E. Student lets 1 bull in the confined area. This one looks like it's part of the experiment. So experiment is C, step C. Analyze number. Analyze will definitely be under analysis. So this is step D. Let's 2 bulls in the confined area and count the number of glassware broken after 1 bull. You realize, sure, 3 and 5 looks like the same thing, except this is 1 bull, this is 2 bulls. So this one will also be part of the experimental step. Most probably, this will be experiment, step 1. This will be experiment, step 2. Question 6, action 6 shares the results with peers. Sharing with peers, most probably is step F over here. Invite others to try it out. And the students form a hypothesis. So hypothesis is under step B. So from step 1 to step 7, you are supposed to write it down, but I'm just going to save some time. I'm not going to write it down here. Okay, so that you can go on, so we can go on to other questions faster. So the first one, student asks, will the bull break all the glassware? So action that I'm going to put here is number 2, step 2, ask. Step 2 over here, I'm going to look at, so I realize this is quite confusing. Okay, so the first step is actually about the student asking the question. Okay, so this one is step 1. Okay, so I'm going to erase all of this over here, okay, just to prevent confusion. So this is step 1. Okay, so you can write step 1 over here. Second step will be student form an hypothesis. So this is step 2. Okay, step 2. Step 3. So after hypothesis is actually to perform the experiment. Remember I told you this is experiment step 1, experiment step 2. So this step 3 will be to let 1 bull in and then count. Step 4 is to let 2 bulls in and then count. Once I've done the experiment, I'm going to analyze the results. So this is analyzing, step 5. Step 6 is to do the reporting. And step 7 is to share the results with your friends. So this is step 1 to step 7 that you need to insert over here. So why is it 6 marks? Because there are total 6 blanks for you to fill out. Part B, suggest what the student could do to further test if the results are accurate. One way is to repeat the experiment, okay, and take an average of the results. Sorry, this is no average, huh? So repeat the experiment and analyze the data. Okay, so repeat the experiment. That will actually help you to do a further testing if the results are accurate. Okay, so that's for the top part here. This is under the nature of science. So this is what your question 1 is asking. Okay, question 2. Students want to collect the gas released when a solid is heated. In the boxes, draw 5 of the apparatus which are required for the experiment. So this one is to draw the apparatus. So for tripod stand, this is your ruler. Okay, I'm using freehand now, but I also use a ruler. Okay, so this is a tripod stand. Alright, let me draw this more accurately. Now do take note, the base of this should be flat. Retort stand. Okay, a pole like this with a base. Okay, so the clamp over here. Okay, this here. So this is where the clamp is. Test tube. Okay, test tube. Wire gauze. Wire gauze is just drawing X. Okay, draw sufficient X such that it looks like it spreads over a distance. Last one, a gas syringe. A gas syringe is the one that looks a bit tricky. Okay, you draw this and then you draw the plunger. Okay, so this is your gas syringe. Okay, so these are the 5 apparatus to draw. Okay, so take note of that. Question 3 here, next one, classify the following elements as metal or non-metal. This one, you will need to use your periodic table. Okay, you need to use your periodic table. So you scroll the way down, you realize periodic table is here. Okay, so how do I know what is metal or non-metal? You need to draw this zigzag line over here. Okay, look at how I'm drawing the zigzag line. So anything on the left-hand side of this is considered metal. Anything on the right-hand side of this staircase line is considered non-metal. So let's go to back to the question. Okay. So the first one, calcium and neon. Where exactly is calcium and neon? So calcium is over here. So this is a metal. Neon is over here. So it's obviously a non-metal. And M for non-metal in short. M for metal in short. So if I go back to the question, calcium is a metal. Neon, non-metal. Okay, next one, hydrogen. So hydrogen is a little bit tricky because if you look at the line over here, teacher, hydrogen is a metal. Sorry, look at this staircase line, So it goes like this. So for hydrogen, come down, draw all the way to the first element, then you draw like this. So hydrogen belongs to the non-metal. So hydrogen is a non-metal. The other one is iron. Iron is a little bit more difficult to find, but it's over here. So iron, because it's on the left-hand side of the staircase line, is a metal. Okay? So as such, based on the thing, hydrogen is considered a non-metal. Iron is considered metal. So how do you know whether metal or non-metal? You need to refer to your periodic table, and you need to remember the staircase line. Okay? Question 4. Provide the name and the chemical symbol of all the elements present. So I just want the elements that are present inside here. So H and I. So can you see H? So I have the H over here, I have I. So H represents hydrogen. So I got a name and the chemical symbol of the first element. The second element will be I, which is actually iodine. If you write iodide, it's wrong. Iodide is not the element itself. The element is actually iodine. Next one, propane. C3h8. The 3 and the 8 I don't really care about so much. I just know that there's the element C and the element H. So C actually represents carbon. H represents, as mentioned on the top already, is hydrogen. Next one, gallium nitrate. So I got Ga, N, and O. So Ga. So actually the each capital letter stands for an element. So G with a small a is considered one element. So this is actually gallium. The next element is N. N actually represents nitrogen. And the last element is O. O actually represents your oxygen. So there are three elements present here. Next one. Oh, now I do not have the chemical symbols ready. So I need to take note here. Potassium fluoride. Potassium is an element. If you look at a periodic table, potassium is over here. The chemical symbol is K. So please always refer to your periodic table to find out what is the chemical symbol. So potassium is K. Okay. Next one, fluoride. Fluoride actually sounds like fluorine. Okay, because fluoride is actually the element fluorine. So chemical symbol is F. So you do have to flick here and there to keep referring to your periodic table. So fluorine is the element. Okay, chemical symbol is F. Last one for this question, aluminium carbonate. So aluminium carbonate, obviously you know that there's aluminium. Now, do take note, whenever you see ATE, it means that there's an additional element, which is oxygen. So I know that there's aluminium, there's carbon, and there's a third element because of the ATE, there's oxygen. So first thing, there's aluminium. So if you look at a periodic table, aluminium is actually Al. Carbon is the next element. It's actually C. And last one, because of the ATE, whenever you see a compound ending with ATE, it means that oxygen must be present. Chemical symbol is O. So this question here just wants the name and the chemical symbol of all the elements present. I'm not asking you to count for me how many atoms there are. So 4 is a relatively simple one, just identifying the elements. Question 5. Determine the number of atoms of each element present in the substance. Okay, so on the number of atoms of each element. So in this case here, S8. So most people will say, sure, there's 8S. So what exactly is S? If you just tell me S, you're not identifying the element. So I need you to go to the periodic table, look at what is S. So S is over here, which is sulfur. So in this case, in this question, is 8 sulfur atoms. B2O3, so I got 2B. B actually is for boron. O3, so actually I got 3 oxygen. Okay, so do take note of it. C2H8. So you can see there's H over here, so let's combine the thing. There's 2 C's, total there's 6 H, and there's 1 O. So I should have 2 C's, C is carbon, 6 hydrogen, and 1 oxygen. Oh, last one, this one is a little bit more complex over here. So what does this 5H2O means? It means I got 5 times of H2O, which means that I will have total 10H and 5O, just purely based on this. And on this side, I got 1 Cu, I got 1 S, and I got 4 O. So if I combine this whole thing together, I actually have 1 Cu, 1 S, 10H, and 9O. So what is Cu? Cu, if you look at the periodic table, is actually 1 copper. Cu is for copper. 1 S, so 1 sulfur. 10H, so 10 hydrogen. And lastly, 9O, so 9 oxygen. So this is how you do this question over here for question 5. Now let's go on to question 6. Okay, so question 6, I'm going to go through both, although the paper did says do either one of them, but actually I'm going to go through both. Okay, which of the diagrams A, B, C, D, E represents E and F represents NH3? So NH3 is a compound, 1 N combined with 3H. How does it look? it looks like a shaded circle. Okay, one big one with 3 small ones around it. So which one looks like this? Answer is C. You see this actually NH3. Okay, that's why you see, down here got NH3 here's got NH3 Okay, now this is not purely NH3. This too is not purely NH3 because it's mixed with other substances. Okay, that's why D and E is not ammonia. D and E is a mixture of ammonia with other things. If I purely want ammonia, it will just be C. Okay, so take note of that. Next one, which one represents nitrogen? Nitrogen consists of 2 shaded circles. So this is NH3R. N2 is actually 2 shaded circles like this. So if I look at all of this, which one has N2? Answer will be A. So you can say, that also got N2. Why cannot use this one? So once again, the same theory applies. This is a mixture of N2 with another thing. Whereas what they're looking out for is nitrogen, N2, purely N2 only. So therefore, this is the answer. Next one. Which one consists of diatomic molecules only? What is diatomic? Means 2 atoms combined together. So yeah, 2 atoms combined together. So this one, can you see, is 2 atoms combined together. So this is a diatomic. So this one, yes, diatomic. This one, same. This one also diatomic. So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. This one here, you realize is more than 2 combined together. So this one is not. More than 2, more than 2. This one got 2, got 3. So therefore, which one consists of diatomic molecules only? This one is where you have 2 possible answers, A and B. Okay? Which one consists of a mixture of elements? So if we go into this, this is an element, purely an element. This one, you see, got these 2 circles here. I got one pattern like this. Okay, this is actually a mixture of 2 elements. This one here is a compound, purely NH3. This one is a mixture of 2 compounds. Where are the 2 compounds? 1, 2. This is also a mixture of 1 compound, 2 compound, 1 element, 2 element. So this is the first compound, this is the second compound, this is the first element, this is the, circle wrong one. This is the second element. So therefore, this is a mixture of 2 compounds and 2 elements. Last one, F. F is actually a mixture. Mixture of what? Mixture of one, this is one of the compound, this is another compound. So this is actually a mixture of 2 compounds. So part 4, I want a mixture of elements only. Which one consists of mixture of elements only? Answer will be B. Which is a mixture of compounds only. So if you look at what I've written all here, the answer will actually be D and F. Which one is a mixture of elements and compounds? So out, out, out. Answer left is E. Okay, so have you gotten all correct? Hopefully you have. So this is about 6 marks over here. Suggest a suitable apparatus to measure each of the following. I want to measure time taken. Obviously, I'll use a stopwatch. I want to measure exactly 20.0 cm3 of liquid. So this is to 1 decimal place, and it is in multiples of 5. Okay, so 5, 10, 15, 20. 20 is a multiple of 5. So 1 dp multiple of 5, the instrument you should be using is a pipette. Next one, 15.0 gram of water. Gram is actually measuring mass. To measure mass is actually using an electronic balance. So do take note, doesn't mean water you're measuring volume of liquid. Look at the units that you are supposed to get. Last one, 35 cm3 of oxygen gas. So if I need to measure volume of gas, I need to use a gas syringe. Okay, so that's the last 4 marks over here for this 6 either. Now let's go on to 6 all. Okay, so the question here, figure below contains information of PQRSTU. So I have so many different substances. What we need to do is to classify it either as an element, compound, or mixture. So let's start. Gas P exists as a diatomic molecule, cannot be made into simpler substance. Once you see this, confirm element. Okay, next one. Upon heating, solid Q forms two gaseous substances. So Q can break down, heating breaking down, so it undergoes thermal decomposition. So what is the substance that can undergo thermal decomposition? We know that this must be a compound. So Q is a compound. So Q is separated via a chemical process, which is thermal decomposition. Okay, next one, R can be separated into three components using a physical process. So if I can separate the components using a physical process, liquid R must be a mixture. So if I can separate by physical process, it will tell me that it's a mixture. Solid S is gray and yellow. Okay, gray particles can be attracted by a magnet, but yellow does not. So what you realize that, oh, different properties. Okay, so solid S contain two different properties. I got gray particles and yellow particles, and they behave differently. So different properties of different components. So if I got different components and they are of different properties, what it means that this is solid S is actually a mixture. Next one, a colorless liquid T is formed by burning oxygen and hydrogen together. So T is formed with energy change involved. Okay, with energy change involved. So if the formation of a substance requires energy change, has energy change involved, so T is actually a compound. Okay. Last one, U has a constant composition. Good. It decomposes into two different elements or two elements. So if U is formed by two elements, what does this mean? It means that it cannot be an element. And because it has a constant composition, it cannot be a mixture. Therefore, U must be a compound. So this is for this part over here. Now let's go on to the last one, gas collection. Okay, so I got W, X, Y, Z. I got three methods of gas collection that can be used: displacement of water, downward and upward delivery. Suggest a suitable method. Once you see insoluble in water, this means that I can use the displacement of water method. So W and X, I'll use the displacement of water method. X also same thing, displacement of water method. Because Y and Z are soluble, so I cannot use displacement of water method. Hence, I need to look at the density compared to air. If the density is less dense than air, means that when I put it with air, it will rise. So I need to use what I call an upward delivery. For Y, I need to use, for Z is denser, so I'll use a downward delivery. Now, so I say, if I never use displacement of water, can I talk about upward and downward? And so W, since it's less dense than air, actually I can also use upward delivery for W. For X, because it's denser, I can use downward delivery for it. Okay, so yeah, this marks the end of section C. So do take note, do your corrections. If you got any questions on how to go about really answering each of some of them, or you got further doubts or clarification needed, please feel free to approach your teachers. Okay, so that's all.